everybody, and welcome back to Nubeva's channel. We're sitting here once again with Randy. We have a lot we want to get through with you guys today and answer a lot of your guys' questions. But first off, Randy, how are you doing?
Absolutely doing great. It's a bit chilly here in California, windy and chilly. We're a San Francisco Giants fan, so that worked out for one of the games. Dodgers weren't able to hit a home run out for those of you that are baseball fans. But other than that, this is unusually cold. It's under 50 degrees now today. So that's just wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
Not made for me.
It's not common that it's warmer here in Ohio than it is in sunshiny California. But
no, it's not.
I'll take it for this one. But anyways, yes. Randy, let's dive into some of this news here. So last week you dropped some pretty big news, namely that you had successfully adapted Nubeva's core IP to solving ransomware. Am I saying that correctly?
That is absolutely correct. It's amazing. It's hard to believe even when we read it, but absolutely.
Yeah, it's
so really, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say it's crazy because it was the answer was kind of right there in front of you. Can you give us a summary of what you guys are doing?
Absolutely. So if you look at ransomware today, it's just one of the largest problems. Our head of marketing calls this the second largest problem today in on Earth. I think that's a bit of an exaggeration. Obviously, COVID is number one. Yeah. I don't know if ransomware is number two, but certainly a top 10. Everybody knows about it. I don't even need to describe it to people why ransomware is a problem, right? Yeah. And number two, the solutions to the problem just aren't working today. The first type is they want to detect it and block it and disallow it. And the reality is, literally, if I looked up today, there's been 840 variants in the last 24 hours. And that's today. Oh. Maybe I think the entire week ranged somewhere between 300 variants in the last 24 hours to about 950 is the highest I saw within 24 hours. And so, you can detect and block all you want, but they just keep changing. The second solution is you want to restore from backups. And that's for anybody who's ever restored a backup, that's just painful. You're out on the average for about 20 some days. And this third way is you hope the FBI comes back and finds the key, right? But if you look at what we announced, we go out and get the keys. We decrypt it and we get your files right back immediately. It's not like a backup restore. It's just you get the keys and you decrypt it. And the beauty of that is not only is the problem solved, the ransomware really doesn't know that it wasn't successful. They just know they weren't paid. But from a process standpoint, it looks like a restore. Right? We got the keys, we restore everything back. We didn't try to stop it. We didn't try to block it. And so the act of being actively trying to go it around us really doesn't exist because we don't come across as trying to detect what's happening or block it. So, so it's just very different.
Yeah, it's definitely different. And it sounds like a potential semi-permanent answer to this problem while everything else is very much kind of caught in that cat and mouse game. So exactly. You guys recently announced this. What have you been getting so far in terms of responses from people?
It's off the charts. We tell people we can do this. The first reaction is we can do this. And then as we, literally every meeting I've had, just unbelievable. As I start describing what we do, people just go, I want to see it. I want to see a demo. They don't, this is one of the first times I describe a product where people are just don't want me to talk. I'm tired of hearing me talk, but they want to see the product and then after they see it, they're just blown away, right? They see a ransomware encrypting all these files and all of a sudden it comes right back. It's kind of like magic. So it's unbelievable. The fact that we tell them we've developed the core software, we've gone out and showed it working with some of the most popular active ransomwares. And we're very literal when we say active. Like so the variants that were developed and released within the last 24 hours is what we're talking. We're not talking about something that was released, Kaseya in the 4th of July, right? Yeah, it's October. It's something that was released in the last few hours. We show them working from that standpoint. And so we've been working with cybersecurity companies, Fortune 100 companies, government agencies across the board. We want to make sure it's validated. People see it working. There's trust involved in that, and then we want to build it out and sell it. This is where we're at.
Yeah. So let's break it down here. You got this incredibly disruptive technology to the ransomware space, and obviously the ransomware space is a big space right now. It's a global pain, a global problem, and it clearly has some value proposition to it and clear targets in the market. So what happens next? What's left?
Well, execution. This is one of the easiest ones. Once you get to this point, the hardest thing as an entrepreneur, as a startup CEO, is come up with an idea that people think, I got a problem here. This might be a solution.
Mm-hmm.
We're way past that. Everybody knows of this problem. I don't even have to talk to a technologist to know ransomware is a problem.
Yeah.
And then showing the solution just blows them away. So at this point, it's all about execution, execution, execution. We got to finish the product. We got to show people that it works. And then we need to be able to, from a go-to-market standpoint, charge the right amount so people are comfortable and they don't think twice and move. That's really the biggest challenge right now.
Interesting. So from there, let's go ahead.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is, that's the good positive way to look at that. As a CEO, one of the toughest things is to decide what we do and what we don't do. So deciding what to do once we realize we can get ransomware and we can get the keys from that, it's kind of obvious, right? This is a no-brainer. But at the same time, we talked about this in our MD&A. We had to redirect a lot of resources. Now, TLS, getting the keys, getting essentially the haystack away from the needle, right? That's the TLS key. That's critically important. But however, if you compare that to getting the ransomware and getting the needle from the haystack, you got to still get the needle. And so I've been putting a lot of our resources and shifting that over to ransomware. And so that did actually have a hit on our quarter, which I talked about in our MD&A. We simply couldn't go out and allow our existing contracts to also include ransomware in it without adjusting the pricing and the arrangements that we've had it before. And so we've had to go back to all our existing customers and prospects and let them understand what we discussed is for TLS keys. What we started building for ransomware, that's not included in there. And so that obviously from changing the resources and redirecting the resource, that took a hit. And so I think it's a very obvious decision to make, but at the same time, it's something that for sure I need to explain it and describe it to people that was a difficult decision to make that had to be made.
Yeah, it's an interesting but very adventurous transition you guys are going through right now, and I really look forward to seeing how it fleshes out. But I want to broaden the scope a little bit more and ask you questions. For instance, do you guys have any real competitors, and why would someone, for instance, pick Nubeva over the competitors?
Yeah, so we have no like-minded competitors. There's nobody that goes out and says, I'm going to get the keys while the files are being ransomed or encrypted, and then come back and decrypt that and recover the keys. There's absolutely no, if for those of you listening, if you've heard anybody else mention that, please reach out to me directly, because I'm dying to hear that, because we have not. This is a brand new, different approach that we haven't heard anywhere. And so from that perspective, obviously, if it's an approach that I haven't heard anywhere else, we have no direct like-minded competitors. Now, obviously, there's a lot of people that will say, I can block it, I can stop it from working, and that's great. The beauty of solutions for malware is that you will want multiple different anti-malware happening at the same time. We're really much more like an insurance, a recovery, than we are a product feature set, if you think about that.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I have not heard anything similar to you guys when it comes to this decryption. I've heard of people trying to optimize backups and such, or as you said, trying to block it and playing the cat and mouse game. But you're the only company I've ever heard of doing your specific thing with the decryption. And from there, so how large do you think the market could be for Nubeva's products here?
Well, if you think about this, just the ransomware alone in the last year, ransomware payout and problems was over $20 billion. That's just an estimate, right? That's just the people who announced they had a problem. Right? You can imagine how many people actually didn't go out and tell people we've had a problem or paid out. And it's growing 200% year over year. And so from that perspective, the sky's the limit. We just got to execute, and there should be no limit, at least in the first 5-10 years of what we can achieve.
Yeah, you raise a really good point. It is a continuously growing problem. So you don't really know where things are going to go. However, the market is definitely there for it. And from there, kind of looking at it, have you guys been ranked by the Gartner group at all?
No, so Gartner actually ranks only when the market is there. So I'll give you an example. If you look at Palo Alto, a next-gen firewall company, when they first came out with the product and were in revenue the first few years, there was no Gartner quadrant for next-gen firewall. It was a firewall quadrant, and that's about it. So anytime you have innovation, it really takes a few years for the market to mature before Gartner puts it as a defined market before they actually start ranking. So no.
And I mentioned
with many of the startups. Yeah.
I had mentioned this word earlier, so let me know if this is correct. Are you guys technically a disruptor in the cybersecurity space, or is this simply like an extension of current products already available for people?
Great question. As we discussed, there's no like-minded competitor doing this. This is everybody we spoke to, whether it's somebody else doing cybersecurity that is trying to deny or block or intercept or find out whether there's a ransomware, or even end users, Fortune 100 companies or government agencies. Nobody's ever heard anything like this. So from that perspective, this is beyond disruption. This is just a brand new thing. Again, I like to call it, this is more like an insurance than it is a technical product. It's just unbelievable from that approach.
Well, it's interesting. Randy, do you have anything else you want to add? Anything you think people should know before we go?
No, we are ecstatic. I'm personally ecstatic. I've never come up with an idea or built a product this exciting, where when we discuss it with customers and prospects, they're just absolutely blown away. They drop what they're doing to go listen to what we have to do in our pitch and try it out. It's just fantastic.
Wonderful, Randy. Well, listen, man, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for walking us through this. And if anybody else has any other questions, we'll very happily dive into those next time as well. But for now, stay tuned. I promise we'll get you some more news over the wire as soon as it comes in. Randy, thank you for your time.
Thank you. My pleasure.